Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Dance Teacher Pep Talk. I am your host, Amanda, and I am so glad you are here. This is a space for dance teachers and anyone interested in teaching dance who is looking for motivation and fresh ideas. As teachers, we spend our days motivating and giving pep talks to our students, and now this podcast is a pep talk just for you. We hope that it helps to ignite new ideas and even work through some deep dance-related thoughts before you head into the studio. Thank you for your support, and now let's get into today's episode. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Dance Teacher Pep Talk. In this summer, I have been doing an every other week schedule for launching episodes, but this is a very special one because this is my anniversary episode. This is the 3rd year anniversary of launching Dance Teacher Pep Talk, and I have so much to say about this. I really do, and I'm just so excited that you're here. I'm here in this celebration energy, and I'm really, truly grateful because I started Dance Teacher Pep Talk with a dream, with this deep passion inside. And if you hadn't listened to any of the beginning episodes, I will just really briefly share how this all came to be because I know some of you may have already heard this. But in August of 2023, I was kind of in a space of looking for something. I was looking for something to serve a purpose in my soul because something felt like it was missing. There was kind of like an empty space that I knew wasn't filled yet. And I had no idea at all what was supposed to fill that space. And it was hard for me because I felt like I kept searching and thinking and brainstorming and doing all the things and nothing was really clicking. And I finally just said, you know what? The idea will come to me when it comes to me. And what is so funny is that I was scrolling back through my notes on my phone, my voice memos, because I've been doing a lot of recording from my phone, even though I have like a whole mic set up and stuff. I find it way easier to jump on my phone to record, just given, my current life. And I was looking through my voice memos, and there was one from July of that same year, 2023. And what is so crazy is it was just kind of like a voice memo diary thing. And in it, I talk about how I felt tightness in my throat. And I felt this really deep longing to use my voice more, to put myself out there, to share more. And I felt like you could even hear it in the voice memo, just like this surge of energy that I knew I was meant to use my voice, but I didn't know how. And it didn't make sense to me because I was a teacher. So I'm using my voice. I'm connecting with people. I'm guiding people. I'm doing what's on my heart. And it felt strange that I still felt an empty space. And then end of July came around like a couple weeks after that voice memo. And I woke up one morning while on vacation. I sat up in bed and I immediately had this flood of thought for a dance teacher podcast. And I immediately grabbed my phone and I started searching and to see are there dance teacher podcasts out there? And there were a few. And I mean, I had listened to a few too. I was an avid listener of podcasts, and it just never made sense or clicked with me that I could do a podcast too. Why not? And I immediately was looking around. Like I said, I found a couple, but I was like, you know what? There really isn't a specific podcast that is for dancers and dance teachers to hype them up, to motivate them, to get that self-love and attention back. There was a lot of informational podcasts out there, which I feel is of course very important. And I do share content like that here, but there wasn't anything really to just listen to uplift. And that's always a main goal of mine as a teacher for my own students. And so I felt oh my gosh, I need to create this space. And as soon as I felt this, I, again, had a flood of thoughts. I pulled out my notes app in my phone and I just started typing. And on that first day of thinking of this podcast, I had about 20 different episode ideas. It was crazy how fast the creativity just exploded for Dance Teacher Pep Talk. And I was so amped up about it. If you know me, this is my personality. I was so amped up about this that I couldn't sit on it. And a week later, I put the whole thing together and I launched. And Lionsgate Portal, August 8th, is always a very, like, for me, exciting and expansive time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm launching on Lionsgate. And I didn't exactly launch on 8/8, but I launched my first episode on August 9th. So it was quite an experience, right? And now 3 years later, here we are, August 2026. And I'm just so grateful to everyone who has been on this journey with me, who has supported me. This has grown into something that I honestly did not expect. I was thinking, oh yeah, this will be great. This will reach like a few people. And now it's just like, I can't believe it sometimes when I'm putting these episodes out, like how engaged people are with it, and, you know, reaching out to me and telling me like this episode really helped them, or like this episode helped like reframe a thought they had, or they used this exercise in their classroom and they really like it. And so it really touched me because it felt like a huge part of my purpose path that is being fulfilled, and that empty space doesn't feel empty anymore. I know that my voice was meant to be used in this way. And for today, for this anniversary episode being the year 3 anniversary, I wanted to share a little bit about this past year, because I think, you know, for anyone who has a dream, there are ups and downs in the dream. And I want to be really real about all of that and to share in that, because this, as I mentioned on my stories, if you saw, this has been an incredibly monumental year for myself, not just with Dance Teacher Pep Talk, but just with my like career in general. And so I really want to share about that, because I think it's important for all of us, because I also feel that so many of us have big dreams on our hearts, or, you know, places where we feel like we want to extend our energy to, but maybe we don't necessarily feel confident to take the jump. And my hope is that in sharing about this, that you will have that confidence to take the jump for you. So this year, let's see, looking back, August 2025, because that was a year ago. So if we're doing like a yearly recap, I was getting ready for a new dance year. It was really a beautiful start. I was excited to, begin my competition pieces for a new season, and just, I really felt like really good energy going into it. I had some beautiful ideas. I had just finished my progressing contemporary technique training, PCT. And I'm so sorry. I feel like, is it progressive or progressing? I can't remember. But anyways, PCT. And that was really inspirational for myself. And this was actually the first year that I did choreographed warm-ups in my contemporary classes. And it was different for me because I usually like to have flow in contemporary and like spontaneity based on the goals. But this warm-up really helped me to work on all the goals I wanted to in a consistent manner. And there were times in the year where I like kind of switched the warm-ups around here and there, like depending on what goals we were working on. But for the most part, it was really interesting to see how like continuation of work changed for the dancers in that year. And it was just really beautiful. I was like really proud of how that came out. Because usually like for warm-ups, I'll do like choreographed jazz warm-ups, but not so much for contemporary. So that was a really unique thing in this year. The year itself went very well. It was like a really, I want to say easeful year. It doesn't mean it was easy, but the energy was just very balanced. I felt good about my classwork and my class load. I felt great about my choreography. It just felt really balanced, and I was grateful for that. And so then I started to feel that empty space again in my heart. And I'm like, what is this? Like, why is it that I always like, I fulfill these goals in a way, or I'm like really living up to the dreams that I have for myself. And I like all of a sudden there's another empty space, right? So what do we do with this? Okay, so I was really thinking about it, and Christmas vacation, holiday vacation came around, and I had a bunch of ideas come to me again. And these ideas kind of took me by surprise because I wasn't expecting to that I wasn't expecting that I needed anything more at this time. Okay. So Christmas vacation came. I was like shocked that like, okay, I'm about to take on a new venture. And it was really like spontaneous, and just like the podcast itself, I just jumped right at it and was like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. And I hope you follow along for the ride. So in January at New Year's, I launched my Evolve Love platform, and it started off as an Instagram just to share my writings, because as much as I love speaking, I also love writing. And as much as I love giving dance teacher pep talks, I really just love giving pep talks. I love to encourage people, to support people, to help people in their evolvement. And I wanted a space that would be for that. And Evolve Love developed, and it was an Instagram page, and it was really beautiful. I have hundreds of notes in my phone notes app, and I just started pulling from them and putting like different pictures from nature scenes that I had on my phone during different seasons of the year, and kind of put that together. And the other thing that came about in the same month, January, is that I have always used meditation in my classwork. I really believe so strongly in meditation and mindfulness, especially when working with children of any age, because I think it's a very important skill to help us as we grow. It's something that I wish I had started to know earlier in life, because I think I would have had an easier time regulating some of the difficulties and emotions within my life. But it's so important to me, and that's why I teach it now. And that's why I bring it in for my students now, especially like the middle school and high school population. I see how much stress they're under. I see how much pressure. And for me, this was like a non-negotiable. Like, I have to be able to reach them in a way that also touches their soul, not just the physical and emotional aspects of dance. So I decided to start to create a resource for dance teachers to be able to use meditation in the classroom. And this is where we're going to get into the ups and downs of this year. All right. So I created my Dance Teacher Pep Talk resource packages, where for each month I would put together a bundle of meditations. And it started off as just meditations. And this was on Patreon. And it still is active. They're all free. Okay. I kept up all the free ones. We'll get into why in just a minute. But I had all of these little packages. Like I said, it started off with meditation. There was always a free one. And then there was the paid membership portion, which gave even further, even more meditations. And these meditations were themed around the dance holidays of a given month. So like in January, what were the dance holidays? And that is like what I picked first, and then went after like other general holiday themes to use for meditations. And then it started to grow and develop into also not only including meditations, but including mini like podcast episodes, like bonus podcast episode content. It had journal prompt little episode things, like journal prompt resources, and it also had children's stories. So improv children's movement stories. And so I would continue putting these packages together. Now I did this for, I think, all the way up through May. Did I do June? I can't remember. I don't think I did June. No, I did May. And what I felt was, this is such a beautiful resource. I was very proud of it. I put a lot of work into it. But I was really proud because it was important to me to try this and to go for it. But what ended up happening was I realized that I was putting in way more effort than I was receiving back for it. So over the summer, I decided to shut down the Dance Teacher Pep Talk Patreon for ongoing. Like, I didn't do any other additional meditations. I didn't continue on with the month-to-month. I left all the free meditations up though. So like, you could still access those. Those are still available on the Patreon page. But I just felt like, why am I like giving so much to a space that isn't really needing me right now? And that was hard because I felt like this was such an incredible idea. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to change the dance classroom. People can use these meditations, and it's going to be just such a beautiful growth for these students to have this additional component.
And what ended up happening is that it just didn't work out. And I'm okay with that. And this was a learning lesson for myself, because even though I wouldn't say it was like a failure or anything, but I was just am saying it didn't work out. And even with that, I'm still so glad that I went for it and did it. I'm so glad that I put myself out there. I learned a lot in the process. And I also like had some really big realizations around this. And in the midst of all of this, in the midst of all my packages, I launched my second podcast, Evolve Love. And Evolve Love is a space where I am sharing daily pep talks, also based on, there's some astrology in there, there's planetary energy in there. But a lot of this, also includes my love for meditation and mindfulness and practices that I do all the time. And I started sharing it there in the Evolve Love space. And with this podcast, it just skyrocketed. Like, as soon as I put it out, the daily content, everything, it was just like so mind-boggling to me, like how fast it grew to start. And with this, all this was happening at the same time, I hit my 100th episode on Dance Teacher Pep Talk, which was amazing to think that I've done 100 episodes. And I am now close to doing my 100th episode with Evolve Love, because being a daily podcast, I'm putting out Monday through Friday content. And what is so crazy about it is, like, I've always wanted to write a book, specifically a devotional daily reader book. And I started it. I started writing it, and it actually has a connection to dance. So I have no idea when it's going to be ready to publish, but just keep that in the back of your mind, because that is something that is in the works for myself. But anyways, as you can see, a lot was going on. And this is everything's too happening outside of my actual dance teaching life, my family life, my home life. And even with like the ups and downs in this year of things like, new ideas coming to be or new ideas not working out, I really am so proud of myself in this year. And I know that that's not something that we talk about a lot of the time of ourselves, because we are humble, right? We want to like hold back from the compliments. If somebody says like, oh, like that's a beautiful shirt, like you don't just say thank you, you say where you got it from, or, whatever, like that type of thing. But at the end of the day, when I look at what I've accomplished in one calendar year, it is just I'm so proud. And you know what else I'm proud of? I'm proud of my creativity. I'm proud of my spark. I am proud of myself for going after what's on my heart. And that's why I wanted to do this episode today, because I think it's a great reminder that even when you have like big ideas, sometimes they don't work out. And even when you have big ideas, sometimes they do work out. But you're never going to know unless you try, unless you go for it. I could have easily gotten these ideas into my mind this year and wrote them down in a notebook and said, oh, I'll check back on that notebook another time and get to those ideas. But I didn't. I acted on them. And I really am just so proud of the work that was this year, because everything I put out has my heart and soul on it. It really does, because as a teacher, as a guide, I just want to support. I truly, from my heart, just want to support. And as the year continued, with everything, once I put a stop to my Dance Teacher Pep Talk resources, I realized it's because there is another space for me where I can support even more people than just dance teachers. I think when we put a label on dance teachers, even if the content is relatable or like would support someone, it might not be something you grab at because it says dance teacher and maybe they're not a dance teacher. So for me, I had to like switch gears here to say, it's not just dance teacher pep talk resources. It is pep talk resources type of thing. Okay. Like that's not what I'm calling it, but like, you know what I mean? Just kind of switching it up here. I am really supporting, encouraging all in all stages of life, in all career fields, in all spaces, because really when it comes down to it, that is the work that I do. So when I'm giving a meditation, when I'm doing a mindfulness practice, when I'm giving a pep talk, what I'm hoping is that it lifts you up. And that is really the role that my purpose path has always led me to. And I always felt it had to be just dance teaching and dance teacher related because that was what I did as a job. Okay. But I realized that what I'm able to give is so much more expansive. I can't just put myself into one box. So I am going to be creating resources, creating spaces, working in person, working online, and all the different ways that I can now to help people in their evolvement. And a lot of this is going to be connected with my podcast, Evolve Love. So if you haven't already followed Evolve Love and you're looking for something like that, I highly recommend you do. And then I also have with Evolve Love, I have my newsletter and I have even more coming. So I think it's mid-August, some more information with Evolve Love is coming out. And I am really excited for that because I feel like I'm going to be able to give my heart and soul to so many people, not just dance teachers. And of course, I'm going to continue here with the podcast with Dance Teacher Pep Talk because I absolutely love teaching dance. It is such a passion of mine. It always will be. And I have a really exciting year coming up. I cannot wait for this year of teaching. And I cannot wait to share the ride with you and also the ups and downs of what may happen because it is always a learning experience. The lows, the highs, the in-betweens. I am a better teacher every day because of the experiences I have. And I'm a better teacher every day because I learn how to process different things, like process a great day, process a bad day. And for me, that's important because I can be a role model then for my students in that too. So if there's any takeaway that you have from today's episode, I hope you know that if something is on your heart, it is there for a reason. Don't sit on it for too long. Just go for it and try it because you don't know. It could absolutely flourish or it might not. But like I said before, you're not going to know until you try. And just always like if you feel those creative nudges, they're there for a reason. Okay, so go for them, whatever it is you're thinking about. And at the same time, too, if those creative ideas aren't coming to you, just say that you're ready and open for them to come to you when you're wanting, because that is exactly what has happened for me. And I notice that sometimes when I relax my mind and I'm not looking, that is actually when I get my greatest ideas. So sometimes we actually have to stop trying. And I know that's crazy, but like sometimes you have to stop trying so hard. And then these beautiful ideas are able to come in. So I am so truly grateful, as I said, for your support and your listens. This episode was a bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I really wanted you to get the full effects of what this year was like for me because it was huge. I cannot believe how many things I launched and did in this year. And also to just the support that I received as well. Because I think what's interesting is like, as somebody who is a teacher and a guide, you put out a lot. But this year, I really saw the spaces in which I receive back. And that is what I want to give to, because that is that beautiful relationship of giving and receiving. And I am really looking forward to this new year. I know it is going to be so beautiful and I'm really excited, and I'm excited to share about it with you. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. I'm so excited to continue on with Dance Teacher Pep Talk podcast. So you will have to check back next week for the part 2 of our Back to Dance series, where we talk about how to prepare ourselves soulfully, emotionally, and mentally for a new dance season. And if you haven't already listened to part 1, that was all about the physical and material preparation for your year ahead. So I definitely recommend you listening to that. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for being here.